Good morning, everybody. Actually, hang on. It's 12:30 already. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're well today. I'm at a weird angle because Rusty is not giving me anywhere to sit. And you can probably tell by my face, it's gotten really hot again. Really quite hot. I'm mentioning that because that's affecting one of my choices today. So, today is all about going shopping. Yay! Who doesn't love going shopping? Except I'm going to go shopping and not spend any money. I'm going to go shopping in the garden. So I'm going to pick the first few of this year's veggies. Oh, mustn't forget some onions as well. Some garlic at home. Maybe I'll take a little bit more garlic. It's just so pretty, isn't it? So yes, the first small pickings, and then what we'll do, I think, is we'll go home and then I'll talk about how I'm going to use things, because I've also got stuff from last year still to use. So yeah, I'm going to do a week's worth of shopping for zero money. Now, the reason I was mentioning about the heat is obviously first thing I've done, is first and sometimes last thing I do every single day is water the garden. Now, going around watering, one of the things I wanted to pick today was leafy stuff, chard, spinach, fat hen, the weed I was showing you the other day, beetroot leaves, the little leaf tops, all of that lovely leafy stuff for salad. However, they are all so utterly wilted. I'm not going to pick food while it's wilted. Why would I want to eat wilted food? Yuck. So if, you're right, buddy. Excuse me. If they perk up by the time I've finished picking everything else and I'm ready to go home, then I might pick a few. But it may just be that you're right, buddy. Rusty wants in on the picture. Hello, sweet peach. It may just be that I go without salad leaves for a couple of days. Pick them another day. In fairness, I haven't actually been able to get to the garden for 2 days for watering. So yeah, they were absolutely gagging for some water. Right, let's go and see what we can find to put in the shopping basket. Obviously, a summer shopping basket has to have a courgette in it. Hurrah! Just about the right size. And another one forming. Oh, and this one got a bit big. Beauts. Oh, I just spotted another one. Yes, every day now requires a careful look. Lovely. It's nice to have the different varieties, different textures and colours. Oh, now this one is out prickly leaves is quite tiddly, but that'd be really wonderfully tender. Good. And also, at this time of year, with this heat, if I keep up with the watering, they're just going to get massive within days. So yeah, do keep an eye on them, keep on top of picking. Now, probably most people, if you're watching, lots of other channels, have probably been picking tons of beans already. However, I keep coming back to this point, bear in mind, these all only went in about sort of 3.5, 4 weeks ago. So they're much behind everyone else. But that's okay. All that matters is I've got something for me and my belly. So these ones that I'm picking at the moment, and I'm going to go and pick some others as well. Let me show this is, it's really hard to see anything in the bright light. This is a bean called Helder. It's a flat bean, as you can see. I eat that for the whole pod. So you actually want to get it before. Now you see on this part the beans are getting a bit fat inside. I can feel they've gone a little bit tougher. So I will leave those, they can be for seed saving. But it's a good kind of note to me. I can't believe they're trying to make seed already. That actually now I do need to get on with picking. Probably every day. Let's check the rest of the row. I doubt there's anything else. This is borlotti for seed saving, not seed saving, for having the bean, not the pod. So I shall leave those anyway. Likewise, the runner beans, which I grow mostly for their bean rather than the whole pod. I just thought if there were a couple of little tender ones, I might nick them away. No more there, but I do know where there are some other beans. So come on, other end of the garden. And down here, oh, lovely, lovely, lovely rocking call. Whoopla. Hang on, let me get some to show you. Oh, still a bit green, Vivi. They'll be fine. I'm hungry. It's a beautiful... Oh, let me straighten up. Do you know that noise is so annoying? Do you know what it is? Someone is having their lovely front garden, borders, lawn, the lot, ripped out, the whole thing cemented over so they can put a car there. Because obviously cars are way more important than living things, aren't they? Yeah, sorry. This gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous French bean, beurre de Rocancourt, butter of Rocancourt. And it's, apart from the helder that I just showed you, it's the only other bean in the garden that I eat for the whole pod, rather than fattening up the beans inside the pod to then have later on my protein. And it's just the most gorgeous, waxy, melt in the mouth bean. I adore it. I won't be without. And these plants, they're from my own safe seed. I got the original seed about 10 years ago. I've never bought seed since, just saved my own. You see, this is the other thing, isn't it, about, trying to be as self-sufficient as possible. This is food that has literally cost me nothing except for a bit of time and attention to start the seed, put the little plant into the ground, or put the seed into the ground, keep it watered. But apart from my time, there's been no financial layout. Yay! Now, I'm going to have to go and get my fork. Yay, let's go digging for buried treasure. Arr. At last I've got you in a shady spot, if not me. Of course, it's the salad potatoes. God, they're ground. That one's got a bit of the sun to it, as has that, or should I say the light. Dump that there for a minute. This is a variety called, what did I plant? Charlotte. And I'm not expecting great things from the spuds this year because of the dryness. But, actually not too bad. Look at the state of this soil. I'll bring you in closer so you can see. Oh, it's just like dusty rubble. Oh, poor garden. Alright, let me bring you in a little bit closer. I'll get this one out too. Hang on. I can just about see where to put my fork because I can just about see where the plant was emerging. So hopefully no prawns. Oh, wow. Actually, I should have expected them to be fairly close to the surface because I wasn't able to do as much earthing up as I would normally and would have liked to. But look, they're coming out clean, blemish free, which is You know what, that's all we want, isn't it? Enough to put in our tummies. Oh God, this ground is awful. Swallowing flies while I'm at it. I'm just going to have to go in puppy style. Is that it? Oh look, there's no sign of any moisture down there. Okay, well, sorry. There we go. Not particularly attractive in that plastic tray, but see, this is the one that has had a bit of light damage. That becomes a bit toxic to us, but the other half I can use. That'll do for this week. And then, well, how many plants? That was 2. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 8, 10, no, 9. I've got 17 more plants. So I could actually afford to have 2 plants out a week. That's absolutely fine. In fact, I can probably have more than that because then the main crops will come. There we have it. I've got it in the shade for now until I pack it all up. But that's my nice little shopping inverted commas haul for the next week, to which I will add some stuff that I've got at home, and we'll chat about meals. Right, you know what, crikey, it's getting so hideously hot out here. I feel rubbish in this heat, so I'm going to get this lot home and try and get myself cooled down a little bit. Oh gosh, that quickly became really unpleasant down at the garden in terms of it's just got so hot. I was trying to harvest those spuds, my sweat was dripping into my eyes. Oh, never mind, home now. So you may have looked in that basket and thought, that's just nothing, that's nothing to eat, it's not a balanced diet, blah, blah, blah. But remember, I've got bits in my hair from the garden. What's that? I have got stored produce too. Excuse me. So, generally, my practice with storing my food and eking out and sort of having security is that I try not to finish the previous year's harvest in the freezer until this year's harvest starts coming in, purely because if it looks like I'm going to have a disaster with one of my harvests, with what's left I can just eke it out a little bit, you know, go on a diet or whatever. So for example, last year, 2021, oh, let me just cross my leg, oh no, 2021 was a really wet summer. We were having 2 weeks of sunshine, 2 weeks of rain, 2 weeks of sunshine, 2 weeks of rain. Perfect, nearly, for growing, apart from tomatoes, tomato blight. So really early in the season, I started seeing lots of friends having tomato blight in all different parts of the country. Paul, bless him, had to rip all of his plants out before even the first fruit had set. So because of that, because I was seeing it happening everywhere, I thought, you know what, chances are I'm going to lose my crop too, so better eke out the 2020 tomato harvest. Now it just happens that 2020 was a drought year as well, 7 months without rain. So I had masses of tomatoes in 2020 because the season just didn't stop. It went right through into October, whereas normally by the end of August, beginning September, you know, we get light plants come out. So I had masses in 2020, and that saw me through, right through this, to the summer of 2021, and right till Christmas even. But then, as it happened, I managed to escape the blight last year until much later on. And then the very first sign of it, I harvested every single piece of fruit, most of which was still green. And I mean, I had been harvesting, but anything that was left that was green came home, ripened in the window, and I got all of that frozen and bottled. So it means I've still got loads of tomatoes. Great. So back to right now. So yeah, that's just I think a note. It might be useful for some other folk as well. Is I'm always taking inventory of how my stock is going and how low something's run out, you know, pretty quickly. Chickpeas, you know, I don't grow many, but my staples like tomatoes, beans, squash. Yeah, they're my staples too. Tomatoes, beans, squash, onions, I keep an eye on, and as they're getting low, I might start to just think, oh, eke that out a bit or whatever. So with all of that stuff that was in the basket today, I'm adding to it for this week's shop. I'm adding a quite big squash. This is one of last year's. After I have this one, I've got I've got 3 big ones like this left and 3 smaller ones. So if I had, which I probably won't, but if I had one a week for the next 6 weeks, that takes us towards the end of September. Hopefully by then I've got some fruit. But I probably wouldn't even have one a week anyway, because especially not with the big ones. So hopefully they'll last me to the end of October, by which time I'll be harvesting this year's harvest. So the basket that was in the garden that you saw, plus 1 big squash, plus, pardon me, tomatoes from last year, plus broad beans from earlier this year, from the end of May, plus I think I've still got some peppers left from last year, and more importantly the beans from last year, as in the bean itself, not the pod. Oh, the podded ones have gone straight into the fridge because if I don't. So with all of those bits and pieces, what can I make for a week of eating? So what I will almost certainly do, yes, what I will do, let's see about the spuds. I'm going to use half of the spuds and these 2 good sized courgettes to make my gorgeous potato and courgette soup. By the way, everything, oh no, there's one thing, everything I'm going to talk about making, it's all stuff you've seen me make. It's all in the back catalogue. If you're fairly new to the channel, there's a playlist called In the Kitchen. Now the first few videos that you'll see on the page, you won't think, there's no recipes. Go right back to the beginning of the playlist and you'll see all my recipes coming up. So yeah, my favourite potato and courgette soup. I think I've got some cardamom. I'll check I've got cardamom because that really makes the difference. So that will make, that and some spuds is 4 portions, that and some spuds is 4 portions. So I'll have 4 or 5 portions for the freezer, 3 for eating this week. Yummy, that's a sort of lunch type thing. Now, with the other 2, with the beans I'm going to eat whole, I might, look, I'm going to flex on this. I haven't quite decided because I was thinking with a couple of new potatoes, but I might not have enough potatoes for what I want to do. A quarter of the remaining potatoes, and just the other thing to say as well is bear in mind that with things like the beans, little courgettes, I'm going to be picking those now every 3 or 4 days, so I'm going to be repeating this. So actually this food, it would only need to last 3 or 4 days, but I'll try and make it last a week because the other 3 or 4 days of pickings, that's stuff to make for the freezer. So, soup for lunches, soup for the freezer. The other courgettes and half of the remaining potatoes, so a quarter of them, over a couple of evenings. And one of the ways I really like them, and this is what I think this is the one recipe I haven't got on my channel, but it's a bit of a, you know, it's not a rocket science thing and it's a bit of a chuck it in. I will use half of a white onion, half a red onion. I'm going to have to be really careful with my onions. I'm going to have to buy them next year. But yeah, half a white, half a red, some frozen peppers, get those fried up a bit nicely, a portion of the frozen tomatoes, slap that in, and then a selection. I've got all sorts of frozen beans from last year that I freeze demi-sec, so it's when the bean is really plump and juicy just before it goes dry. Get a handful, a selection of those, chuck them in, let it simmer. Obviously add a few herbs, garlic, bits and pieces, let it simmer, let it bubble down, let it reduce to a really, almost like a stew consistency. So it's kind of somewhere between a sauce and a stew. And I'll have that with courgettes, tomatoes and courgettes, match made in heaven, and a couple of the new potatoes. A really lovely light supper, but of course with all those beans in it, there will be masses of beans in. It'll almost be like baked beans on courgette and potato. I'm getting a nice kick of protein. So yeah, tomatoes, beans from the freezer, adding to the fresh stuff. What else? I started to make a list of what I might do. One half the squash, I will make a squash curry. I'm not sure what to add to it. Again, maybe some beans from the freezer. And when I have that, I'll cook rice to have with my curry. But I'll cook I'll do it with beans. What I will do is I'll do extra beans and extra rice, because then I'll have the rice to have my squash and bean curry on. And I'll do enough for 4 portions, so I'll freeze 2 and eat 2. And then with the leftovers for 2 or 3 lunches, I'll do a rice and bean salad. Because I was just thinking with the rocking core, they're lovely in salad. Yeah, a rice and fat, plump, frozen beans, plus some of the fresh rocking core, and the other half of one of the red onions, really finely chopped. Give it all a good toss. I've got oil, I've got a lemon in the fridge, ton of garlic, yummy. So then I'm going to have some courgette soup for my lunches, I'll have rice and beans salad for my lunches. The other half of the squash, I'll make a soup, I think, another soup. Let's say squash and pearl barley soup, I love that. Again, 4 portions, 2 for in the week, 2 for the freezer. So over the course of this week, I'm going to eat really well, plus I'm going to hopefully get about 8 to 10 portions of stuff to get back in the freezer. Rice, bean salad, squash, of course, how could I forget one of my favourites. So with the other quarter of the new potatoes, the broad beans I harvested in May, which are all frozen, get a portion out, get them cooked, get them shelled, get them second skinned as it were. So broad beans, potatoes, and half of, this red onion, I might want the whole of it. Chop, chop, chop. Mayonnaise, I've got mayonnaise in the cupboard. Yummy, yummy, yummy salad. Oh, I love it. It's one of my absolute favourite salads ever. I won't use all the broad beans in it. I'll reserve a few of the broad beans to make one of my favourite things, which is like a broad bean hummus, broad bean dip, broad bean mash, whatever you want to call it. That, the broad bean mashy thing, what I'm thinking is I didn't pick any of the leaves today, so no chard, spinach, fat hen, or the beetroot tops. I didn't pick any, they were just so droopy. I'm going to get back on with watering on a daily basis now, so then when I do pick some, them and the broad bean mash and maybe a couple more new potatoes out, that will be a really lovely lunchy light supper as well. So actually plenty to eat. So the vast majority of that is going to be my own grown produce. About half of it, no, I'd say about a third, maybe a half of it is going to come from the garden today. About half of it from the freezer, or like the squash just stored in air. The vast majority, but then to add to that I'm going to be using some rice which I have in stock, oil, mayonnaise which I have in stock, some cardamom, some herbs and a lemon. So if I was having to buy, there would never be a week when I would have to buy oil and rice and what else did I say? All those things, because you know they all run out at different times. I would plan it. I wouldn't ever plan to buy all of that in 1 week. But even if I had to buy all of that, the amount it costs per portion is so negligible. Let's forget any of them. Let's just eat from the garden. It's doable. So yeah, there we have it. That's my shopping haul with a difference, because it hasn't cost me anything apart from a bit of time and a bit of commitment to the garden, which I love. Less so as the years go by, only because of the physical aspect. But yeah, it's doable. So I'm not a huge fan of these shopping haul videos that I see elsewhere, just because I see mountains and mountains of of junk food and pre-packaged food and tons of single-use packaging, and it's like let's get away from all of that, and let's, you know, whenever possible, let's buy ingredients and buy them loose or grow them, and you know what, cook our own lovely food. The only thing, you know it's going to come up though soon, and then we'll wrap up. Do you know what it is? I'm excited to be out of the blazing sun. It was getting so hot. What's going to be really odd, so hopefully not before too long, I'll get a ripe tomato, please. And I can't wait for my favourite meal of the summer, koriatiki, Greek salad. And normally I grow my own cucumbers too. This year I'm going to have to buy a cucumber, and I haven't bought a cucumber for 10 years or more. I don't know how much they cost these days, but I will be buying a cucumber, some feta cheese and some olives, but using my own tomatoes and my own red onions, and I cannot wait. Yum, yum, yum. But anyway, never mind that. I'm delighted to get my first pick. I mean, I've had picks this year. Obviously, I've had the garlic, the broad beans, the onions already, but my first kind of pick of fresh stuff to eat fresh. It feels great to go shopping and not spend a single penny. Yay! And this is how it's going to roll for the next 2-3 months. Brilliant. All right, lovelies, I hope you're all staying well and managing to cope in this heat. Those of you of us in the UK who are just not used to it, please stay out of the midday sun. Actually, it's more like the 3 o'clock sun that's the worst, isn't it? But you know what I mean. Stay out of the sun. Look after yourselves. Keep topped up. I'll see you all again really soon. But until then, cheerio.